Hello, everyone. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Welcome to another edition of Sisters of Wellness. My guests tonight are a group of people, a set of people. They're called parents. So many schools talk about the lack of parental involvement. Well, this couple has a very interesting story. They were given their children's tuition check back from a Catholic school after they questioned the practices of this school and how their sons were being treated. They are now taking their concerns to court, but on top of that, they're now concerned about the judge who may have close ties to this school. Can this couple find some justice in what has happened with their two young sons? My guest tonight, Willie Wims and his wife, Regina Wims. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Your sons, tell me what happened with the check. You were given the check back. How did that happen? Your children are at a Catholic school, a private school. You're paying for them to go there. You've given them a check, and they give you the check back.
Yes. So when our children attended the private school, they were participating in scholarship funds as well for the children. It was called a Step Up for Students. And so our children were participants in that scholarship program. However, at the private school, we were responsible for the registration fees.
So tell me, this was, and what school were they attending?
They were attending St. Patrick Interparish School in Gainesville, Florida.
And so this program was designed to encourage more diversity in the school, no doubt.
Absolutely. And it also was developed as an opportunity for parents who felt that the public school system was not what they wanted at the time. For us, it was very important for us to enroll the children in a faith-based institution because that was what we stand for. We're Christians. And so even though we were not Catholic, we had an expectation that the children would receive an excellent education at this particular institution.
And at the time, how long did they go there? Had they attended?
So that's interesting because Chancellor, our oldest son, was enrolled at the school first. He attended kindergarten and first grade. And what's unfortunate about this situation is that in first grade, we had a similar incident with race. And so much so that the principal of this school told us that our son had no value and merit to him.
Wait, what?
Yes. And so
the principal said that.
He did, because our son told us that another child at the school hit him, and we wanted to go to the administration to resolve the issue in a Christ-like manner. We wanted to speak with the other family, and we were told by the principal that our child had no merit or value because these other families were prominent people in the community. And so what our child's statement was meant nothing to him.
Basically saying our child lost all credibility with him, is the words that he stated.
Because this particular child was raised in an upstanding family who were exactly what the principal told us. One parent was a principal at the school and the other was an administrator with the county school board. So our child's word had no merit or value to him.
So when we talk about, whether this doesn't make any difference or not, but, Mr. Wims, you are a business owner. Ms. Williams, you are a social worker and you have your own business. So you all certainly are upstanding citizens in the community. And even regardless to what you do for a living, the fact that somebody would say that a child has no value. So this is when your oldest son was in the first grade?
First grade. A
Well,
child, a
well,
baby.
Well, basically, what he says that he have had past interaction with the child. At question here, he said that he's had interaction with him, and this is first time ever dealing with our child. So he know that the other child was telling the truth, and our child really don't have any credibility with him because he haven't had any dealing with our child before. So he knows that this other child wouldn't lie because of his record, because of him interacting with him. That's basically what he was saying.
And the family.
Yeah, he know the family. He know them not to be liars, and so they never lied to him before, and he believed them, and he never had any dealing with our child to really know whether to trust him or not. So he don't have any credibility.
So this is in first grade or kindergarten?
This was first grade. And what resulted in that is I was infuriated, and went to report this principal to the diocese. And what resulted in that was they had a talk with the principal, and we made the decision to remove our child from the school. That for Chancellor's second grade, he did not attend St. Patrick's Interparish School because we removed him. So we placed him in another Christian school, which was great, but we felt like academically St. Patrick had more to offer. So once they removed the principal, we submitted a request for Chancellor to be readmitted.
And so how did that go?
So we, my husband and I went and spoke with the new principal, and it's amazing because he told us, well, I'm aware of the previous incident, and so we were a little taken aback, but we wanted to be fair. We felt like,
well, his correct word was the problem is gone now. The school has been fixed. He's the new principal. He's going to make sure everything go right. He said the principal that was there was not doing his job, and he was a problem. He's gone. So things will be different now.
So we trusted that. We trusted that statement.
And then you put your second child in school there.
Yes. And so we had both of them attending. And there were instances that were moments of concern, but we made the decision that we'll just advocate for them. So at every hand, if there was something that the children had a problem with, or if my husband and I had a problem with the administration, we were proactive. And we went to them saying, this is a concern for us. And it was a struggle, but it was not severe. It did not get severe until the last year.
And what grades were your young men in then?
At that time, our oldest child was in 5th grade, and the youngest was in third grade. Third grade.
So you had a 5-year history with this Catholic
Absolutely.
School. You had a 5-year history. Mm-hmm. And as you said, Mrs. Wims, you and your husband were being proactive in trying to make sure that things were balanced, as you were also trying to make sure that your young men, your boys, received a good quality education. And you felt like they were in a place to get a good quality education. When did things start to turn bad?
Okay.
That's one thing.
Yes.
Pam, I mean, it was so many things that went on. Perfect example. Our son, when he went to lunch, he go with his brother, but his brother's sitting in a different, at a different table. All the kids are mingling together. They're talking. And he came home and said, the teacher said that he couldn't say anything to his brother during lunch. And things like that. So I was like, well, should we just not worry about it? So we confronted a lot of things. And one time we went up to the classroom and asked the teacher, could we speak with her? And she said, yeah. When we was talking with her, when she said we could speak with her, the principal found out we was up there. He came up there. He said, hey, we can't have this. You all got to go now. Leave.
So
and he
she was
made
just
us
wanting
leave.
to, yeah.
So I'm just saying things like that. So that was just a collective few, it's a lot more that we could just go on and on about. So that's why we felt like this is just too much, But
But you were still pressing forward.
So
And
what,
a new year starts.
yeah,
That was in what year? 2018?
2017.
Okay.
So what initially started a downward spiral for this entire situation was I we're responsible for volunteer hours. And I would always be the parent that would commit the volunteer hours. If you're married, it's 30 hours. If you're single, it's with children there, it was 15 hours.
Mhm.
So every year I always did excess of our hours. This particular year, we were told by the administration that we owed a balance for lack of completing our volunteer hours. And I was saying, gosh, that's weird because I always had access. So I went to the administration saying, listen, I received this letter that we owe this amount of money, and that can't be. I need you to verify this. This can't be right because I've always completed our volunteer hours in excess. And so she was very rude. Glenda Nolan is the financial administrator at the school. She was very rude. She was short, and she said her exact words, it's what you owe, and you need to pay it by XY date. And we need that money. So I had to calm myself down. I went ahead and left and came back the next day and paid the balance. It was over $350. I knew that we had completed our hours, but at the time I did not have the verification for that because they do give you like little stickers, and I had to just find the stickers. Let's fast forward to the fall, and I was doing some volunteer hours then, and one of the parents said, he pulled me to the side actually. He said, listen, I heard you speaking about your volunteer hours. And he said, I want you to know that the machine was damaged and they charged the parents of color.
Really?
I said, what did you say? And he said, listen, I heard you talking about your hours. And I know for a fact that the machine was damaged and they just made the decision. If you couldn't find your accountability sheet, that they were just going to charge you. So I waited a week. I was furious. I waited a week, and my husband and I made the decision to go in and speak with the administration. And when we went in, I asked the financial administrator, Glenda Nolan, I said, listen, you're going to need to get the principal for us to speak with you. And so she said, okay, well, what is it? And I said, well, just get the principal and come back. And she came back about 2 minutes later and she said, well, he's in a meeting. He can't meet with us right now. So I said, I the information that verifies our volunteer hours.
Regina, if you can hear me, the screen is freezing.
So she said, well, I'll do that in about 2. And I said, no. And is it okay?
It's coming back on. My guest tonight, Willie and Regina Wims, they are parents of 2 African-American young men who were in school at a Catholic school. And because they addressed in being proactive in their children's education and their learning environment, they addressed a number of discriminatory acts that they witnessed or that the children shared with them. And in return, the school gave them their check back. So they are taking this to court, and that is it seems, it can seem alarming, except I think African American parents forget that private schools flourished in this country when desegregation happened.
Yes.
So many times we're trying to place our children in environments where they get better education. But this school is also receiving government funding, Title I money.
Absolutely. Which means they fall under the governances of the United States Department of Education. And I found that out through investigative research, through communication with the Florida Department of Education, that in essence, yes, they are to be held accountable in terms of their discriminatory actions. And in short, what I was stating to you about the fees, I went and my husband and I went to address that situation. And lo and behold, I caught her in a lie. I told her that I was aware that the machine was broken and that if she did not return our money that hour, I was calling the authorities because anything over $350 is grand theft, and I was going to contact the diocese as well.
But the thing about it is, when she paid the money, the almost $400, but it was only like three something. She did not even give her the difference in it. She just kept all the money. She didn't even return the balance of it.
So what he's stating is, when I wrote the check, I didn't have I remember receiving the check, but I didn't remember the amount. So the amount was $300. I wrote the check. The amount was $350. I wrote the check for $375. She kept the entire balance. She didn't even give me the decency to return the overpayment that I made.
And so
go ahead, Mr. Wims.
Told that she was going to call the police. She started crying. She said she was stressed out, and she's sorry that she did that, but please don't call the police. And she said, here's your money back. I'm giving you all your money back. I'm sorry. And so she wrote the check back and gave it back to us. And
I have that. I have all of that in my possession.
This is a Catholic school. You wanted your children in a Christian environment.
Absolutely.
So you all are in the process of filing the appropriate court documents to get some justice from what has happened to your children. What state of mind are your children in now after they've gone through what they've gone through at their school?
Well, Chancellor, he's still hurt because the grade that he received, he should have received a better grade than what he received. And the grade that he received, the way the teacher graded him and the way she evaluated all of his work and everything, she said that was an appropriate grade. So my wife asked, she said, well, can I see, how did you grade?
Test,
yeah, could I see the test? How did you
come homework?
How did you come up with this grade? Because the grade that he should have received, he would have been able to be on the honor and be acknowledged.
Honor roll.
Yeah, and he was on that honor roll, what, twice?
No, he was on from fourth grade on up is when they acknowledge honor roll recipients. And he would from fourth grade, he had honor roll status all year. So when fifth grade came, the first two semesters he had honor roll. This particular semester, we asked her, and again, when this time came about, it was very tumultuous between the school and us. We continued to catch them in lies and discriminatory actions. So at that point, they were doing anything just to possibly rid us from being at the school.
To discourage you from continuing to bring your children there.
And so when my wife asked, she wanted to evaluate all of his work and everything, the teacher said the cleaning people threw it out.
And there was no record of his grades. And he did not get recognized for honor roll. Yeah. He was devastated.
He cried. Yeah.
We did. As a matter of fact, we did not allow him to go to school that Friday because it was just too overwhelming. He had always been on honor roll.
How do you all feel as parents? I mean, we see all the stories about delinquent, not involved. And here you all are, all feet, 100% in, trying to do what is best for your two sons. How is it making you all feel as parents?
Well, I feel that we're going to have victory in this case. And the reason why I say, because God knows that the way that they was mistreated, it made us feel helpless. It made me feel helpless because, things that we addressed at the school, any parent would address it. So by us doing that, and seem like no one's listening at us now, it's like we're just, we're just
We had no alternative.
Yeah.
It needed to proceed. This is not only for our children. This is for all of the children of color that experienced injustices at this school. And there is a vast amount of children that did. We had a meet and greet at our home with some other parents just to hear of their experiences. And every last there were four particular families who were dismissed from the school. Their children's records were altered to reflect negative academic reports, so much so that those children would not be able to attend private schools again.
And see, once we removed our son, we asked for his records, his grades. They handwritten them, and they did not match the grades that we had. My wife had misplaced his grades, so she asked them to provide her with his grades. They handwritten the grades out on just a regular sheet of paper, and then when she did find his original grades, they did not match the grades that was there.
So you all were going to put them in this school again, and you paid the registration fee. And what happened? They called you in the office, Mr. Willie?
I went in to sign my son in. I think he had a doctor's appointment that day, and I came back and I was signing him in. And this, I think it was Glenda.
No, it was Lexi.
Lexi, yeah. She said, "Mr. Wims, I have something for you." I said, "What is it?" She said, "I don't know. The principal, Frank, told me to give you this. It didn't even have our name on the front or anything." And she just gave it to me. I walked out and opened it up. It was a refund back.
What did you think when you saw that?
We was being kicked out of school.
And when you called your wife,
yeah.
What did you say to your wife?
Wow. She couldn't, she was hurt. We both was hurt.
And then how did you all break the news to your sons? What grades were they in then? Fifth and third grade? Fifth and third grade. How did you break that to your fifth and third grade sons?
We set them down and told them it's best that they not return, but we believe that this is God's will because of the challenges that they'd experienced, the discrimination that they experienced. It was extremely unfair, so much so that we had to enroll the children in counseling after their time at the school. There was one particular incident with our youngest son in which he was outside in the courtyard of the school playing with his friends, and the teacher told them it was time to return from recess. And so he's a little kid. He used the bathroom outside. The teacher sent me an email indicating that he had received 5 demerits. And I said, "Well, what did he do?" And she said now listen to this, he was showing himself. She made it out to be this perverted behavior when the only thing he was doing is using the restroom. I promise you, Miss Marshall, my son was so terrified of her after that incident and the way that she talked to him. He missed 18 days of school. And I would not allow him to go back. And I sent her an email on the time that I felt that it was safe for him to return. And I told her, don't say anything inappropriate to him. Just the necessity. Whatever his schoolwork requires of him, allow that. But if you say anything that is going to frighten him, make him uncomfortable, we're going to have some problems.
She said two of the white kids said that they seen him doing it, and she believed him.
Right, because she didn't witness it.
And so we said, "Well, our kid told you that he had to use the bathroom." She said, "Well, I don't believe him. The kid said he was playing with himself." So she...
Well, of course, that's believable of a little African-American male child.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything negative. Sharon Benjamin, who is an educator in New Jersey, she said, "To the parents, never back down. You are the only advocates for your children. You will have to keep advocating even through college." And Sharon has 3 grown sons, now all uh, very, very upstanding young men. They were all very good students. And to hear some of the stories of what she went through with her sons, and it, it is uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. It's
Absolutely.
horrible because the students who may be causing any kind of problems, those are the students that make the news.
Mm-hmm.
Parents like you all don't make the news. Sharon and her husband Randall didn't make the news when they had raised these three upstanding young men. One
Mm-hmm.
just announced today he's going to work for the Biden administration, but had to have some
Awesome.
advocacy.
Absolutely.
One is in medical school and one is an educator. And so when we think about parents who are trying to advocate for their children, what is it that you think about young African American boys? Because we're talking about sons here. We're talking about
Mhm.
5 Black children, men, between Sharon and your sons. Mr. Williams, what do you say when you think about what other boys are going through in schools across Gainesville as well as across the country?
Mhm.
Well, I think that you've heard the term it takes a village to raise a child. I'm going to get hit back on your point right quick, but just let me make this statement. My wife and I was there. He set us down. He said, "If you all are not happy with the way things are going here, won't you just leave? Won't you just go?" So I was expecting to hear him say, "Well, what could we do to to work things out?" And he was like, "If you're not happy, just go." So, but I believe that uh, we have to realize that we already have strikes. Young African American men, just as well as boys, have to realize that we have strikes against us already. So we have to go above and beyond to make sure that we seek right counseling, talk to people that could help us along the way because you don't know, who's going to be there to that has been through the same thing. But if you just keep it inside and not share it with anyone, then that could be a problem because it would discourage you. You just fall by the wayside. So, and that's our case with our children. We're not going to stop with this here. We're going to, I mean, because it seems like every time we contact someone or tell someone about it, oh, you just, everybody do it, I mean, you're only not the first. Just
There's a broad
just
acceptance across the board of
suck it up,
people
suck it up, and
of
move on.
of people who are just, and I think that that complacency, some of it is verifiable fear.
Mhm.
I heard a term once, and the guy told me, he said, people do you wrong or do you certain ways because you let them. But once you stand up and let them know, hey, I'm not taking this anymore, you will see different results, you know. But I'm sure we're not the first parents that have been there and it's happened to. And some of them just they went somewhere else and they didn't even try to challenge them or do anything about it. But this is not just for us, it's
It's
for the
for
other parents to come
or
along.
the children that are
There's
behind
no
our children
there is no African American teachers there
at
at
all.
all.
And this is a
So,
school that receives federal funding.
because most teachers, come here. I know your mom. Sit down. They know how to handle a child, but when they see this, then now you
A behavioral
yeah,
issue.
behavior issue. Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Willie Wilms, their sons were attending school at St. Patrick Interparish Catholic School here in Gainesville. They took their concerns to the dais, and now they are looking at taking things to the courts. However, Mr. Wilms, tell us what happened when a woman came into your business and started
Oh,
questioning you about your wife.
yeah. She came in and she said, "I'm trying to get his haircut." She's a Caucasian, but she had an African American child with her.
Hmm.
And I was doing some cleaning up in my shop, and she came in. She said, "I'd like to get him a haircut. Can I?" I said, "Well, ma'am, I'm closed today." She said, "Yeah, I know, but if I could just get him a haircut, I would appreciate it." I said, "Okay, well, I'll go ahead and cut it for you." So I started cutting his hair, and she went to looking at the pictures that I have in there. And she said, I know your wife. I said, how do you know my wife? She said, because I'm a social worker too. I said, oh, you are? She said, yes. So I said, okay. So I'm cutting. So she said, so where do your son attend school at now? I said, they're at PK. She said, oh, yeah. There's some things going on in St. Pat, huh? That you all, that shouldn't be going on there. I said, yeah, there's some things going on that shouldn't be going on there. So at that time, I didn't feel comfortable about it. So I didn't, pursue it any further. So the haircut was only $15. She gave me $40 for the haircut. I thought that was kind of strange. And that was the first time ever coming there. And so when she got ready to leave, I said, hold on, let me call my wife for you. She said, no, that's okay. That's okay. I said, no, I'll call her. She said, no, that's all right. You don't have to call her. By that time, my wife called me. Mm-hmm. And I said, what a coincidence.
That was divine connection.
I said, hold on, here's my wife here. Here she is on the phone. She said, no, that's okay. I said, no, she's on the phone. So I reached out and gave her the phone. And then that's when she spoke with my wife. And so
she didn't identify herself.
Right. So after I got home, I told my wife, I said, it's this lady living, she told me she lived in Keystone Heights, and she told me she was a social worker. And so I said, she said, how she looked? And I described it to my wife. And then my wife pulled the pictures up from the school. And I said, that's her there. She said, oh, and she's part of the lawsuit that we have going on.
Mm-hmm. She's a named defendant.
And she was there
seeking
seeking information. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you now have so you tried to get an injunction against her from coming to your husband's business again. And the judge has said that there's no reason for you to get an injunction.
Absolutely.
And then what have you found out about this particular judge?
Well, prayerfully, Pamela, I proceeded with reviewing information that I had. And I'm just going to say this. As I was praying, the Lord told me, go back into your pictures. And lo and behold, I pulled some pictures that I had from 2013 when the children were all at a birthday party. The judges, not that particular judge on our case, but they're all in the 8th Judicial Circuit. And one of the judges there, her children are in photographs with our children.
So you think that that's too close for them to make an impartial decision?
It is too close.
Well, the same judge that my wife is speaking about, we went before her in a different case, and she said that she knew us and she may need to recuse herself. Or did we want her to? And we said, no, we're comfortable with you overseeing it. So she did give us the right to, make that decision. But with this judge here, he's just,
But he doesn't know that I have that photograph.
Gotcha. Where do things stand now? And Sharon Benjamin also has had some other comments. Do not allow the system to intimidate you ever.
Thank you, Sharon. So where we're standing now, the judge has given us 30 days to renew our complaint. And some of the things that he stated in the motion, such as he was not going to allow the social worker from St. Pat's to have an injunction against her. I feel that was discriminatory because he's protecting her license, because if an injunction was to proceed forward, she would have that permanent record on her license. That's the first thing. The second thing, the judge was critiquing the grammar. He said the syntax and the grammar in the complaint was of someone who has no legal knowledge. Well, he could say that, but I did not prepare the complaint. I paid someone to prepare the complaint for us.
An attorney
to prepare it.
So he thought you had prepared it yourself.
Yes. So he was to me, being dismissive. He was being partial. He was essentially trying to tear down my self-esteem and character about the preparation of the complaint.
You know, Pamela, I looked up a statute, and I don't have it before me now, but it said that a judge is supposed to make his ruling on just the facts that's presented to him alone. He's not supposed to go do his own investigation, and he's not supposed to know the defendant or the plaintiff of the defendant. Things that he stated in the motion let you know that
he has
been
inside knowledge. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because it was things that he mentioned that we never talked about in the motion. So for him to know this, perfect example, he mentioned the name of my business. My wife just said my business. I
never said he had a barber
what
shop.
my business was. So in there, he said that the plaintiff said that such came into his barbershop. My wife never said a barbershop. I have 3 businesses. Not just a barbershop. So why would you even mention the barbershop?
Unless you had inside knowledge, you've been communicating with someone about the business that she entered.
And then not only that, if he had prior knowledge of me having a job, then he shouldn't even be over the case. Period.
What is it that you all want done? Your sons are now at another school. How are they doing?
Yeah. Exceptionally well. They're both really bright students. They've transitioned very well at their new school. And so moving forward, this is my desire, not only for our children, but for all children, especially children of color that attend predominantly Caucasian institutions, or just a school where there may be inequitable treatment. That's what I desire: fair and equitable treatment at any school. In terms of private schools that receive federal funding, there needs to be legislative changes that represent the facts. If you receive this funding, this money from the federal government, there must be accountability and transparency. This is imperative because our situation is a perfect example of a school that receives federal funding and there is no accountability.
So is there no accountability, or they are just not adhering to it, or they're not telling you all what they're doing? Because I cannot imagine, if they're receiving Title I money for students to attend school, that there are not some checks and balances. And you can't just say the dog ate the homework. That you have to show.
There is no accountability. I spoke with the Florida Department of Education in a complaint, and one of the representatives there, they took all of our information. First, we went through several departments in the Florida Department of Education. We went through several departments. Ultimately, a representative told me, listen, you have the right place, but there's just nothing that can be done. We're not touching it.
So they're just handing this money out to these schools.
That is what they're doing.
And there's probably a certain amount of time that the student must stay at a school to get full funding. And even though your children are not there now, is there any proof on their books that they're not still receiving money for your 2 children?
We don't know, but I will tell you this. They literally would run you down for every year for the Title I application documents. And what that is even if you don't receive like federal assistance or government assistance, like food stamps or anything like that, even if you don't receive those type of fundings, if you're at the school and you complete the document, there is something that they submit to the Department of Education that allows them to receive this funding, but it's based on returning I remember my husband and I didn't return it, and they literally sent us 3 emails over a period of a month saying, we need you to return these documents.
And then if you're Catholic, they're saying if you're Catholic, you get a discount. So if you're not
So,
pampered, you can't get the discount from the school.
so you have 30 days now to respond to the judge.
Yes.
And then what do you expect is going to happen before this judge?
Well, at this time, we're not at liberty to say how we're going to proceed, but um, we feel that I'll say this. We know that there are biases, and we can prove it. And that's kind of an indication of how we're going to move forward. We do not feel safe, and that we would have fair and equitable treatment in this county.
And see the way that it was worded, he said, I have the right to deny this motion if I don't find if I don't find any merits that I think have great grounds, I could rule against this. So why not just say I have the right to make a ruling on this case? Don't say if it would be a bad ruling, you know. Just say, okay, I have the right to rule on this case, and I'm going to make a ruling. Don't say, okay, I have the right to deny to you, on this case. If I find merit, I could just dismiss it. So it's like it's already making a statement on what you're going to do before you even do it.
Sharon says, demand equity even in public schools. Remember, your children are taking lessons from you, learning how to fight for their lives, all their lives. And while this is the United States of America, over the last 5 years, we have seen that there are things that didn't change as much as we thought they had changed. And now you all are living proof of that.
Absolutely.
Best of luck to you all, and in rallying other parents in the community who may be facing some of the same challenges, even as Sharon pointed out, in public schools.
Yes.
Florida is a stand your ground state when you can, shoot anybody you want to. So stand your ground and stand in who you are as parents of these young men. And as Sharon pointed out, watching how you handle this situation and teaching them how to handle their lives.
Yes, absolutely. And we're advocating it again. I want to emphasize that it's not only for our children. We're proceeding forward with legislative changes to protect all children, and children of color. They need it.
Yeah.
So if we can get some type of legal assistance, to help guide us, or someone been through the same, have the same experiences that took it further and that was able to, succeed, please reach out to us. And any legal advice that we could get, anyone that could direct us in the right, direction, we would very much appreciate it. But we know we're gonna prevail with this. I feel it in my heart. We've been praying about it, and we know that we're doing the right thing.
Mr. and Mrs. Willie Wims, I really thank you for sharing your story. Sharon Benjamin has put some other information in the chat, so make sure you look for that. I'm going to put it on the screen here for those who are watching on YouTube. This is not new.
Absolutely.
In Carter G. Woodson's book, he said, it was naive of the Negro to think that the oppressor wanted to educate our children. Representative Barbara Cooper in Memphis, who's 94 years old, who's a retired educator. And what she said was very telling. She said, we trusted them too much with our babies. And that's why Black children in every community across the country are filling up the alternative schools and filling up the juvenile courts, thus filling up the prison system.
It's a prison to pipeline. A school to prison pipeline situation. That's their desire for our children.
And Pamela, my wife, she have excessive emails. She have emails back from what date?
Years.
Yeah, about 8 years ago, she have emails. I mean, emails. So everything that we're saying is paper trail. Yeah, it's paper trail. So I mean, emails that we some of the response that we got back from them, there's so much to where it's just overwhelming.
Well, I really do, again, thank you all very much for sharing your story with our audience. And please know that we look forward to you coming back to let us know what's happening in this case. Willie and Regina Wims, the parents of two young men, two young African-American boys who were attending St. Patrick Interparish Catholic School here in Gainesville, with the hope of getting their children a good quality education in a Christian environment. They faced discrimination, disrespect, and they are now taking their case to court. So again, thank you very much, and we look forward
Thank
to
you for having us. Bless you. Have a good night.
Thank you, and thank you all so much for watching. We really appreciate you watching and sharing, and then be proactive in your community as well, in the school systems and with parents who, even if you don't have children, biological children that are in school, they are still our children, and
Absolutely.
they need someone advocating on their behalf. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Remember, there is healing